Appreciate everybody attending today. But most of all, big thanks go to TELUS International. Horsefly looking to have a lot of great partners and clients. And every now and again, we're lucky enough to write a case study about some of the ways that our clients are using Horsefly to support their business. And there's lots of different ways that we do that. And we're going to get into some of that today. But before I go any further, I just wanted to welcome Gerardo, Tobar, and Alejandra Sorto from TELUS International, Jerry and Ali. It's great to have you here today. I really appreciate you doing this. I'm looking forward to kind of hearing the story. But before we do that, I just wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourselves to the audience here. Tell us a bit about what you do and tell us a bit about TELUS International. I don't know who wants to go first.
I'll go first if you want. For sure. Meeting you guys as always. So we're part of TELUS International, as you can see, and as Paul introduced us. We're part of the talent acquisition team, also known as recruitment. More specifically, we're part of a team called the Global Innovation Center. What we're pretty much is we're like the global project management team for talent acquisition. So everything related to projects, innovation, new regions, which it's a topic we're going to touch upon on this webinar a lot. Everything involving those topics come to us as a team, and we support them. We have analysts, we have project managers, and we have leads such as Alejandra and myself that help on everything related to that. More specifically, in the topic, I'm in charge of business intelligence and of privacy. So everything relating to data, the tools we use, and making sure we don't break any laws while we're using them. That's on me. And then I'll introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Ale Sorto. I've been in TELUS International for the last 8 years and a half. And I started in recruitment. I've been going through all of the positions, sourcing, recruiters, and now project management and projects. What I do right now is lead a team for mergers and acquisitions. So every time that we're looking to buy a new company and that we have to make them part of TELUS International, we have to review the talent acquisition piece, and that's what we do. Besides that, we implement technology and automation so we can increase capacity and efficiency. And also, we do a lot of market research. As I mentioned before, part of our of what we do is the mergers and acquisitions. So we have to make sure that where we are going and where we want to open is something that has the pipeline that we need, the languages and the profiles that we're looking for, which is the main reason why we actually work with Horsefly to do all of these market research.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And this is a pretty international event today. I'm joining from, I'm a Brit by birth. I'm actually in Liverpool in the UK right now, although I live in the US. And Ali and Jerry, you live in, tell the audience where you are, where you're based.
So we're based in El Salvador. This is a small country in Central America, beautiful for its beaches, for surfing, the volcano. So if you haven't come, you should visit because it's really, really beautiful.
That sounds fantastic. So yeah, thanks for sharing a little bit about the business. Big audience today. So I know there's some people that know Horsefly very well, but just really quickly, what we do, we're a labor market analytics platform. So we provide data and insights on the external labor market. And that helps businesses with all sorts of use cases, whether that's in talent acquisition, business planning, or workforce planning. So things like doing location strategy, compensation strategy. You want to try and improve quality of hire, reduce time to hire. If you want to try and drive your diversity, ethnicity strategy, we provide a lot of data and insight to help with that. So you can see a few of the pieces of data. And I think what really makes Horsefly different, a lot of great features and data in the product, is the number of countries which we service. and also the granularity. It's a skills-based world these days. So our ability to both provide data at a very broad geographic level, but also at a very granular skill level, is kind of what makes us different. And I think is what we're going to get into today is why we're able to help TELUS International. So just quickly before we get on to that, we're in a unprecedented change. It continues to happen and change every day. It's kind of like a perfect storm, and these are some of the things that we're facing, and people on this call are facing, whatever business you're in, and whether it's strategic workforce planning or TA or hiring. A lot of shifting dynamics, and a lot of these dynamics are ones that particularly apply to TELUS. So that's what makes this story so interesting. In an area where there's some really skills shortages, some geographic challenges, highly competitive market. Given that as a backdrop, Gerardo, perhaps you could and Ali, perhaps you could, just start by kind of rewinding a little bit. You've been using Horsefly now since 2021. What was it back in 2021? What did the world look like then? What was it you were looking for, and how did you find kind of Horsefly? What led you to us?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll let Ali dive deeper into the topic. As she's mentioned, she's in charge of mergers and acquisitions. So she has a lot of information of what we did back in 2021 because she was the one that was hands-on during all the acquisitions back then. But from our perspective, the initial approach for Horsefly came actually from a director, and he's a director for Central America and for some divisions in North America as well now. Marco Alvarado. He's a great guy, and he's always introducing us to new tools and everything else. And he was the one that approached Horsefly. And the idea at first was we want to use this tool to start scoping out El Salvador and Guatemala, which are our Central American markets, right? That was like, we can start checking everything through this tool instead of doing everything what we're doing right now manually. And that was the initial approach, the initial idea for TELUS International with Horsefly, right? And it grew to things that we're going to speak about today. But logically, the main use case was seeing market analytics, right, without going too deep into big research or contracting somebody else to do those analytics for us.
Right. And to be able to compete better and find new clients, business development, things like that, be able to differentiate your offering, as I understand. And also give a shout out to Matt Hassey, who's, I know he's listening, dialed in here somewhere. It was Matt that was originally worked with Marco on the original use case, which I pulled up today, which was really interesting. So where were you? So when you talked about it, it was manual back in the day. How were you kind of finding data back then, and versus the way you've got it at your fingertips right now?
I'll take this one because she was the one that had to go hands-on to the research and find every information.
So back in 2021, first of all, as I mentioned, I live in El Salvador. So if you ask me data from my country, of course, I won't know it. And maybe I know some data of the countries that I visited and done a lot of research. But if you ask me about countries that are in the other side of the world, which we don't share the same culture, the same language, the same profiles, it's really hard if you have never been to the country where you're looking for market research. So back in 2021, if they asked me, do we have pipeline in this country? Which languages do they speak? What is their monthly salary? Who are the competitors? What I usually did was either go the easiest way, which was hire a recruitment agency located in that country that could provide us all of the information based on the requirements that we were looking for, or do it by myself, which was going to the local job boards, going to the competitors where they had like local web pages, and I would go to the position, to the job description, read every job description and check if there was compensations, which there was not. Go to Google Jobs as well. So I would basically do that. Yeah. And we didn't have LinkedIn Recruiter as well, so I couldn't use LinkedIn. So I was like really short on information. So once Horsefly was introduced to us, we were able to get more objective information. I was able to save more time and efficiency, because what Horsefly does is they grab all of the information from all of the job boards around the world and social media and LinkedIn, and do just one search instead of spending days looking for information. So what kind of information can I pull from Horsefly? First, the type of profile that we're looking for. So TELUS International recruits for more than 60 languages and for more than 600 profiles for CX, content moderation, sales, what else? Java developers, JSON developers, transcribers, translators. So it's a lot of profiles that we look for in different countries. And with Horsefly, I'm able to just add the job profile that I'm looking for. And let's use South Africa as an example. It's huge. Yeah. The country is really, really big. So if we talk about Johannesburg or Cape Town, we won't have the same or similar profiles, as this is a huge country compared to the country where I live, which is a really, really small country, and we can find the same profile in all of the country. However, as I mentioned, for South Africa, profiles may vary depending on the location that we're looking for. So that was how we were doing it in 2021. Right. In 2022, they like the stakeholders and the G Suite told us that if we can do like a market research for South Africa for specific profiles like agent profiles, which is customer service, sales, and tech support. Entering the last months, there's also been a lot of interest for content moderation and a lot of in English and German profiles. So with Horsefly, what I just do is, again, I just add like the job profile, and I add the job. Horsefly gives me the compensation based on the location and the pipeline, right? And the thing that I really like the most about Horsefly is that it gives us where the information is coming from. So if I want to search for more information, I can just click that and it will take me to the entire job description or where the information comes from. So we just opened in South Africa in 2023 based on the research that we did as talent acquisition. And of course, a lot of more factors, but saying yes or no, if we can recruit in that country, is a factor that's really important, and it's on top of the list. So based on the research that we did, that we got from Horsefly, we were able to open in Johannesburg and Cape Town. So we did it through an acquisition, but we had to decide if, buying this company was going to be efficient or not, or if we were going to be having the profiles that we were looking or not, which at the end we did. So that's the case study with South Africa specifically. Right now, they're asking for German positions, which is not the primary, second, or third language. So what I usually do is go to Horsefly and check how many German speakers we can gather and what is the compensations that these German speakers are having per month. So this way I can go back to my compensations team and tell them like, hey, this is what the market is paying. Is it something that we can pay at least, or of course pay more, so it's easier to recruit? So that's how Horsefly has helped us. And South Africa is just one example, but we also use it for the different countries that we have on site. So let's say that there's not a country that is in Horsefly and that we're looking for. Horsefly has helped us develop these countries and get this information. We just have to tell them a few months in advance, and they develop it for us, which is another thing that I really like working with the Horsefly team, the flexibility of opening new countries that are not in the system yet. So yes, that's basically the system per se, but the service that we also receive from Horsefly, if we don't find any information, they also help us with additional market research. So we have 4 countries that they can help us do like the market research and send us like a report instead of me doing it in the system. So I really like that I can do it by myself in the system and apply some filters. But at the same time, I also get the support from the Horsefly team when I don't find specific information that I really need.
Agreed. So there are a lot of things that you have to take into account when you're doing like a search for market analytics. And I'm sure once Paul rejoins, you have to apologize. He's as he mentioned on Liverpool on a business trip, so his connection is kind of finicky. But the important thing is knowing how to do a search, right? Because the information is there. In the end, what Horsefly does is publicly available information, and it's an aggregator. But knowing how to use the public information, I think that's where you need that either that Horsefly support, or you are, as an experienced Horsefly user, you need to get that information in, right? Because the prompts are manual, right? You write what you want to find, and you choose where you want to find it and how you want to find it. Um, so knowing how to do that search, I think those are the specific things, like know how to build your prompts, know what specifically you're looking for. Also know that there are things that will show up and will be more accurate. I saw a question asking about accuracy. There are things that are going to be more accurate than other things that are not accurate. For example, as I shared, we did build the business case for Guatemala and El Salvador, which are all Central American regions. But we know that the information is going to be a little bit more accurate in the main cities, that in, for example, uh, um, a place in those countries where the population is not as broad, right? Because there's not going to be public available information. There's not going to be jobbers information. There's not going to be anything that's public. So our main recommendation would be like be smart with those searches. Know what you're going to do. Know what type of information you're looking for, because that's going to help and do the difference with your search. All right, I'm sharing my screen. Let me know if you can now see the topics.
We can.
Great. So coming back to the perfect storm that Paul was talking about, it's pretty much a perfect storm that's brewing right now. You'll see a lot of webinars such as ours, and you'll see a lot of experts talking about right now that it's a buyer's market. So right now, if you're a candidate, the market's looking better than ever. You have a lot of companies since the pandemic that are looking remote work. So even if they're not in your country, you're probably going to get recruiters reaching out and seeing for your work. So right now it's a buyer's market, right? You as an applicant have the biggest amount of options you've ever had probably in your life as a professional. So there are a lot of things that are shifting. And now the name of the game is upskilling and reskilling. So that's a little bit that we wanted to talk about and how Horsefly helped us with reskilling and upskilling. Knowing, as Alejandra said, when you're doing a search or when you're looking for something specific, you have to be a little smart on the way on how you do the searches. I see Paul rejoined.
Yeah,
We
I'm
recently
sorry
had a
about that.
case. No, no worries. We recently had a case. Paul and I were actually we met at a conference called Unleashed. We were there a couple months ago, and one of the business cases we saw on this perfect storm was a company that was looking for um, medical engineers. They were looking for people to work on the medical field, and they wanted to do engineering, technical imaging, um, graphic design, and everything similar, but inside the medical engineer. So it's a very niche profile. And as I said, it's a buyer's market right now. So imagine you are the recruiter looking for that specific search. It's going to be a very hard search. It was going to be
Yeah.
probably a very short amount of people that were
Right.
enabled to do that specific, and they wanted the people to be on site. So I was very specific. But they mentioned that they found through reskilling and upskilling, they found that if they hired, and this is something completely unrelated, if they hired gaming developers, the gaming developers could be trained to eventually be and use that medical engineering software. So as I said, it's reskilling, and it's a lateral move. It's not really finding somebody that studied medical engineering and prepared for that role. It's finding a gaming engineer who has experience, and the software that gaming engineers were using for developing games, it was similar to a medical one. So you could reskill and you can upskill this person, and you could have your medical engineer that came from a gaming background. So it's something completely different, but it's an idea on how market analytics, how through lateral moves, and how, for example, for tools like Horsefly, you could do a search for different profiles that are not specifically the one you want, and you're going to get a bigger market, you're going to get a bigger market share, you're also going to get a bigger idea on how the analytics are looking.
Thank
Back to
you
you, Paul.
thank you for carrying me for the last few minutes. I'm back now. There's a question here, and I think you've been talking about this. We talked about it. Finding, how do you find higher quality talent? I think it's about that granularity of which you can search, right, with the skills, instead of just looking for people that are from a certain job code or role, and being able to mix and match those skills when you're doing your searches. If you identify the right candidate pool, and also, through Horsefly, it will help you with your marketing, because it'll help you understand what candidates are calling themselves, what skills they've got in their profiles. You can also look at career journeys. So you can look at, before someone was a data scientist, what are the other roles? Where are these people coming from? Like you say, Gerardo. So, when there are in-demand roles that are very hard to fill, sometimes you need to develop that talent. So, how complicated are some of the searches that you do, Ali? How many kind of fields do you fill in, and skills on some of your more complicated ones?
So I usually go like about 5 or 6 filters, and they do it per position. So I go as granular as that, or I can go a little bit more broad if it's just compensations. I actually receive a daily email, I'm not kidding, of the solutions team, like, hey, how much would this cost in a specific country for this position? So it takes me about 3 minutes to just go to Horsefly, search for the information, and come back to them, like saving time to them, right, so they can answer our potential clients, right? So it depending on what we're looking for, I add like 5 filters or 1, just like the last example that I provided, but it takes nothing. Like it's really easy, and it's really fast, and it saves me a lot of time. When there's like a chain of people, like there's a client, the future client asking for information, then it goes to solution, then it goes to the TA director, then it goes to the TA team. So basically I just like save 4 steps to quickly send that information.
Okay. And do you like the saved search feature we've got now?
Yes, I actually enjoy it a lot, because I don't have to apply the filters over and over again. If you ask us what's our objective every year, is increase capacity to hire in an efficient manner. And even if we don't recruit, like our team does not recruit, we need to enable the teams. And we do it by providing this type of information really, really quickly, so the other teams that will recruit can start recruiting as fast as possible, and saving time in the SLAs.
And are you using the data kind of live in front of clients and reports? Do you use the kind of, the tool to share the data with some of your clients, or put it into presentations, or how do you do that?
So basically I send them either, if they have a specific format like a spreadsheet, then I just send it through a spreadsheet. But if it's if it has to be like a visual deck, what I do is first I add the branding, and then I add some screenshots from Horsefly, and then I try to explain it in a few words, like what's the screenshot about.
Okay. So you make it sound so simple, and you've been using this for a long time, but what kind of tips and tricks would you give someone who is looking at this technology, because any solution is only as good as the adoption, so how have you been able to get good adoption and buy-in and usage across the organization?
I'm gonna let Gerardo speak, because he actually was the one who taught me how to use Horsefly, and he did it in such a simple manner that he took about 30 minutes just like to go all over the tool, so I could do it by myself.
Wow.
So the first thing I would say, I think that helps the most is it's that Horsefly is plug and play, right? It's not into integration. And this is not an ad for Horsefly. I promise TELUS International pays for Horsefly. we don't get it for free, but it is a plug and play solution. So if you get access to Horsefly, that's it. You can start doing searches and everything else, and there's not much science behind it. You don't have to wait for an integration. You don't have to wait for any, I don't know, data compilation or anything complicated you may think behind it. It's just a plug and play and a search, right? And afterwards, the first thing is be creative, as I said. I remember an example that Ale was doing for our AI solutions division, and they were looking for something specific in the speech related market, and the specific profile was not showing up in the search because it had a very specific name. It's like if instead of calling me project manager, you call me like project management specialist or something similar. It's probably not going to show up in the market analytics, right? Because it's not a commonly used profile. So the first tip is know the popular names for the roles you're looking for, or the alternatives. Right? Like for example, if you're looking for somebody that's, I don't know, specific in linguistics or something similar, know the common profiles. Like for example, a translator is going to be somebody that's going to be able to do like specific linguistics information, like a speech specialist. Those type of job profiles are the common ones that are known in the market. And if you look for those in the tool, then since it's public information, it's going to show up and you're going to have more information to fill. If you look for speech specialist level 2, number 1, obviously you're going to get the same amount of results. So that's the first thing. Know the common job profiles. Think how people think, right? How the market shifts, and use those common job profiles to get more information. And the second one is drill down as much as you can. Remember that you can not only write one thing, it's a series of prompts that you can write. So the same applies. Like if you're looking for something in the project management world, don't just write project manager and click enter, right? Think about things that you want to see. Like for example, you want to see project management certification. You're probably looking for something from the Project Management Institute. You can write those prompts in, right? And it's going to drill you down to a specific amount or the specific profile you're looking for in a more specific search. So know the job description, know the common terms, use them so you can get a bigger market, or in the other way around, so you can get a more specific search, so you can get some more specific and detailed information.
And try things out. It's kind of an iterative process.
Correct. Yeah. If again, same lateral thinking, right? Don't just think, okay, I'm going to write translator. Oh, it didn't show up. We have had cases where we use profiles like, for example, a linguistics teacher, because it's somebody that has a linguistics background. They can probably speak the languages we're looking for. You can do that in the search. Get creative. Get creative. Know the market. Know the common profile names.
Yeah, it's great. You know, one of the things we like to do is make TA professionals be the expert in front of the hiring managers and the business. And I think, you know, don't tell them how simple it is, but you guys do a great job. So, so we got 60 countries currently. What's on the horizon for you? What countries do we need to add? We have a list of countries queued up, ready to add. What are the kind of, where do you see yourself going next? Where do we need to talk to our development team?
Oh, I think Ali can help with this. Of
Anything
course, we're not
missing?
allowed to spill all the beans, right, on TELUS International plans. But there are a lot of markets shifting up. I think Latin America is an attractive market for everybody, right? There's a lot of bilingual speaker there. There are a lot of growing markets, and there's a lot of technology in places like, for example, if you go to Argentina, there's a lot of startup market for technology initiatives there. So that's something interesting. So you see a development shift in those type of countries, similar to Uruguay. So Latin America is probably one of the things we're interested in. We actually have a team, and I saw the manager for the team join. So shout out to Erika. She does an amazing job of scoping out, using Horsefly, by the way, scoping out Latin America. And there's also a common interest all the time in Asia and the Pacific, right? There are a lot of markets there. There are a lot of workforce there and capable workforce. So it's always something that you want to keep an eye out. So
we've got Colombia and Israel are kind of just recently been released and kind of are in testing, and we've got plans for quite a few more, and constantly looking to improve those as well over time. What other things are you interested in seeing in the future that you'd like to see from the platform?
So we recruit a lot for languages. So if we can have the language, like the primary language or the population of these language speaking. And they also if we recruit for French, for example, we need to provide at least B1s, which is intermediate advanced. So we have to also know in which scale this speaking language has a proficiency, right? So it would be amazing if we could see languages. And one of the lines of businesses that we recruit for the most as well, and that we plan to increase, is digital solutions, which are basically developers. So also knowing the different programming languages where we can find this talent, that would help us a lot, because it's something that we still struggle with. And also going back to the last question, not only they ask us can you search for this country, but they also ask us can you search for these languages or for this profile? Can you tell me where I can find this talent? So with Horsefly, instead of doing like a research of a specific country, I go one by one to see if there's something that we can also promise, that even if they don't give us a country, we provide the country proactively. Hey, we cannot find this type of profile here, but why don't we search here? And Horsefly gives us this information. So yes.
And we've got some plans to make that easier for you in the future. We're looking at generative AI right now, and we're built on a graph database. So we'll be able to, at some point in the not too distant future, interact with the platform through text or through voice. And for instance, say, tell me the top 3 locations in the world to hire XYZ developers. So how cool would that be?
I know that would be amazing. And what's one of the things that we do struggle with is communicating with candidates. They it's hard for them to answer. So one of the ideas maybe would be if you can tell us, okay, these are the social medias, this is the channel of communication that this country uses the most, so we can leverage that channel of communication. So for example, in Latin America, WhatsApp is something that we use a lot, but in the US it's more like SMS. So this would also allow us to go directly to the channel and communicate with them directly, instead of wasting a bit of time calling them when maybe that's not the first channel of communication we use.
Yeah, so we're definitely looking to add to I know we can search by languages right now. I think we're restricted a little bit by what candidates put in their profiles, and some people say they can speak languages when they can't necessarily. But we're kind of looking to, right now we've got a project to research that and overlay that, with some richer data. So that's definitely one of the things we want to talk about. Is there any, do you do any work with kind of internal mobility at all within the organization and planning?
So it's the name of the game. We have a pretty robust internal movement and an internal applications program. So we do have, and as I mentioned, it's like the name of the game right now, right? Having an internal marketplace, it's one of the best things you can do right now for your company, and having a good team to drive behind it, that's definitely one of the good things to have.
Right. So one of the other things I think you talked about was hourly. You'd mentioned you were interested in hourly pay. Right now, Horsefly provides annual and daily. So that's in testing right now and very close to being released. So
yeah,
so looking
definitely.
forward to providing you with
It's
that
not
one.
it's not as easy as it seems. One would think it's 40 hours everywhere, but it's not.
No.
So knowing that also helps. Having those type of we just had a recent case with Ale. We were taking a look at a new country, and we were looking for the hours, and they also had a different shift because of where they are. They cannot work on Fridays, so that's also a shift for us. It's not a simple detail to be left out for talent acquisition. We have to know that because we work based on that. We do our offerings based on that, and the client also needs to know that. So yeah, knowing the hourly wages and knowing also the shifts or availability, that's also important for talent acquisition.
Yeah. And then one of the other things we got planned is cost of living. So richer information around, we provide compensation information, but you'll be able to look at like a city level, regional level, and look at, this is what they get paid. And this is what they're left to spend at the end of the day. When you look at the cost of housing and taxes and everything else, these are the places where candidates are going to have more disposable income based on what they earn. So another thing that we're looking at.
That's great. If our North America manager is on the call, I'm sure she just jumped out of joy that she's no longer going to have to do manual COLA adjustments and looking with compensations in our total rewards team for how the COLA shifts within the U.S. states. If it's provided by Horsefly, it's going to help us a lot.
Yeah. So tell us about some of the growth plans or the future, or anything you can share. What's on the horizon for TELUS International in the next 12 months?
So we plan to increase in French. So we just started with French language. So right now we opened in Morocco a few months ago. We actually did it through an acquisition as well. But we still want, to keep searching for French candidate speakers in other countries for onshore, time availability. So that's one thing that we plan to increase. And the other is in artificial intelligence profiles, which are like transcribers, translators, program managers. And this we usually want to search for in Europe and in Latin America. So that's where we plan to keep expanding.
Yes, a lot of demand for those skills at the moment.
Yes.
Kind of new skills for people as well. So we're seeing that coming into the platform and starting to get some richer data. So thanks for your time. I don't know if we kind of, pause there for a minute. I don't know if there's any questions from the audience. And we got a Q&A. I think I can see if anyone's asking any questions, but if not, we can always wrap up a little bit early. It's been a fantastic discussion once again. Thank you for being a partner with Horsefly. We truly appreciate that, and giving us some time today and sharing your story with the audience here. We do have a case study that we've written and published with TELUS, so we'll share that with people that registered for the event. But I got one. Sorry, an alarm going off here. Got a couple of questions. Just one question was, how much data do you guys have? We have trillions of data points. So the answer is a lot from a lot of sources in a lot of countries. Some of that's our special source, but we'd be happy. Lana, I don't know if you're interested in looking at the platform, but we like to do the Pepsi challenge. So we're happy to kind of, you tell us what you want to look at, and we'll show you the data. So thanks for that answer. And I just got a note from Matt Hassey here saying a special thank you and a hello to both of you. So thanks again. Jerry, I hope the Atlanta Falcons continue to play as well and keep their 100% record, 2-0 right now. It was great to actually meet you in Vegas not so long ago and break bread and get to meet you. It really was wonderful. And Ali, I hope I get to meet you in the future and we continue to partner for a long time to come.
Thank you so much for the invitation. And if you guys have any clients here in the webinar, if you want to share like best practices, we can also like set up a quick call and go over like how we use Horsefly and what type of information we usually gather from it.
Thank you so much. And apologies for the little interruption, and thank you for making it such a smooth transition, you two professionals, real professionals. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks,
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.